Yo, 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 welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. And before we get to our guest today, we have a big shout out for Living Sisu. Living Sisu is a platform and app that wants to give you all the tools to have success in your sport. Their main objective is to activate your lifestyle. So it's for active people. Enjoy discounts at companies like BioSteel, 30% off, Body Logics, the Goalie Guild, all his books are discounted. Roan, Lululemon for men, 20% off. Online stretching programs with Eccentrics, 1 full month free. They got super silent massage guns, 20% off those. And it's a great quality. It's way less expensive than a Theragun, and it's great quality. So there's so many more discounts that you guys will need to just become a member to see. So they want to provide you with anything you need for success. So come join the community. I'm a part of it. A bunch of other athletes are a part of it. So it's free to join. It takes 20 seconds to get exclusive offers to your sport, and it's definitely worth it. So do us a huge favor and go sign up for Living Sisu's membership. It's free, takes 20 seconds. So go do it, and we'll see you there. Living Sisu is a great company. We know one of the co-founders, Zach Fricali. He's a great guy. He's the co-founder. He does a lot of live streams on Instagram at Living Sisu, and with a bunch of elite athletes, and you learn a lot from like the athletes' determination, their resiliency, everything to what made them become successful. So it's been a great experience so far. So go on. I'm gonna leave the link in the description. So go sign up. Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today's episode we're joined by a very special guest, former professional hockey goaltender and current Kalamazoo Wings assistant coach and goaltending coach, Joel Martin. Joel spent the majority of his professional career playing in 422 games in the ECHL East Coast Hockey League with the Kalamazoo Wings for majority of his coach career, 24 games in the American Hockey League, 84 games in the Central Hockey League, 135 games in the United Hockey League and International Hockey League, 3 games in the Western Coast Hockey League, 42 games over in Denmark, and he had a stint in the NHL with the New York Islanders at one point. So that's a total of 710 professional hockey games from what I've counted, and he's played in 15 full seasons of professional hockey. He spent his junior hockey days in the AJHL and the Western Hockey League with the Lethbridge Hurricanes, TriCity Americans, Vancouver Giants, and Calgary Hitmen before turning pro. Joel is now the current assistant coach and goaltending coach for the Kalamazoo Wings and was recently inducted into the ECHL Hall of Fame. So, whoa, what an intro. But welcome to the show, Joel Martin.
Thanks, Jack. I'm happy to be here, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be a fun episode, and what a resume you have. Like, it's gonna be good to get into it. But how have you been to start things off?
Yeah, I mean, I've been good, just in the thick of things here of our season with the Kalamazoo Wings, and things start to get really busy for us at this level in January and February and March, and seems like the beginning of the year you're playing 1-2 games a week, and then all of a sudden they start hitting you with the 7 and 10 days, and so yeah, we're in the thick of it. Just got back from a long road trip to Worcester, Massachusetts, and I'm happy to be back home here after a pretty decent weekend there.
Yeah, the workload must be a lot, especially like when you do 7 and 10, 4 and 5, like games like that. Like, but like as like an assistant coach, goaltending coach, like what is it like for you, and just being able to just help the guys be ready for the next game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the workload sometimes depends, on the schedule with who you're playing, right? Like this weekend we played Worcester 3 games in a row. So you go in game 1 with a pre-scout, and then after game 1, you watch game 1, and then you take clips from that to do review and prepare for game 2, and so on. And then some games you play 3 different teams. So you're preparing a pre-scout for each team, and then you're reviewing each game and then wondering what you need to add in from the game you just played into your pre-scout. So when you're playing the same team over and over, it makes it a little bit easier, I think. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and we love what we do. So
Yeah, absolutely. And just like, this is your 3rd year coaching, right?
Yeah, so it would have been 4, but we took last year off. We took the COVID relief there. So yeah, third season.
Yeah. So how's all three years been so far, especially like when you first got into it? Like what was that like, and just taking on that role of post playing career?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the next best thing to playing,
Yeah.
coaching and being able to try to help these young guys chase their dream now. And, I've always been an empathetic person. So, I care about these guys and want to see them do well. And I think when you're playing, you're only worried about yourself, so
Yeah.
that kind of comes pretty easy. And then, once you're coaching, you have 21 guys that you care about and you're trying to help and do your job on top of it. So the workload, I think, is the biggest change and challenge from playing, and really just trying to learn, how to do things as a coach, how to pre-scout, how to review, how to do all the video and run, Steve, our software cutting program, and now Instad, and all these different things, and present to guys. So just a ton of things to learn that I'd never done before, and you kind of just take for granted as a player. And you show up and you have 5 minutes of video and you're like, that couldn't have been too bad. And then when you're doing it, you realize the hours of work that go on behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, and that must be a lot of work, a lot of hours behind the scenes, like you said. Like, what's been like the hardest part about that? Like, what was the hardest part to learn throughout your first couple years coaching?
Oh, that's a great question. I think just like putting pre-scouts together and then figuring out, the order and learning the order of how to do it, where you're not just grabbing a bunch of clips from a game and slapping them in a 5-minute pre-scout. You're working from the D zone out, or something like that. So that, I think, was a learning curve for sure. The review process, what to look for in that, I think, too, is a bit of a challenge when you've never done it before. And I have a great mentor, Nick Bootlin, and he's taught me everything I know so far as a coach, and a lot as a player. I had him for a lot of years as a coach. So I'm really fortunate to have a mentor like that to kind of show me the ropes and teach me the way. It took me a long time, I think, as a goaltender to find that mentor type goaltender who kind of showed me the way. And I was pretty fortunate to find that in year one as a coach.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you just gotta find like the important things in the pre-scout to like video clip and all that, and like just to make sure that like you guys are leaving the D zone well, and then just going in the neutral zone, going in the offensive zone, and just like learning the ropes from there as a coach. Like that must be pretty difficult, especially coming from like being a player and then just having to like look at it a whole new level, a
Yeah,
whole new
I
way.
think yeah, I think one part of it is, I think maybe it was John Tortorella who said, like, the game is full of mistakes, right? And if you
Yeah.
keep showing guys all the mistakes they're making, then nobody's going to really want to play for you, right? I don't think that's word for word, but it was something along those lines. So finding a fine line of things that can teach guys and kind of teach the group to get better, and then finding positive things, that you want guys to continue to do. So I think that's something. And then I think the challenge of being a goaltender and not playing a lot of those systems, like I didn't play a forecheck or the neutral zone forecheck or the D zone, and I always paid attention, but it's different,
Yeah, it's
when you're
different.
trying to teach it to guys, and you've never done it really. So learning those X's and O's for sure is a challenge, and something that I find a lot of fun though, and interesting, and yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so you've had a lot of experience these last 3 years of coaching. So like what's been some of like your favorite coaching memories so far?
Oh man, greatest coaching memory. That's a great question. Can we come back to that? Because I don't know what I want to choose for that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I want to get into like your playing career a little bit here. So like what like made you fall in love with the game, and like just like that love and passion for goaltending?
Yeah, I mean, I think like most guys, it was probably the equipment, right? I think that was a big thing. And then I think it was really the only position I was any good at, So I wasn't a very good player. And then everybody got a turn in net, and I seemed to stop a few more pucks than the average person. And my love just grew from there.
Were you a good skater when you were trying other positions and you're like, oh, I'm not that great of a skater, and then you go into goalie and you actually have to be like a great skater to be a goalie?
Right. Yeah, no, I could always skate well. So yeah, that kind of, I don't know if that came naturally or what, but I skated well from a young age. And I think that helped me probably when they put me in the net at a young age, that I didn't even realize it was helping me, So
Yeah, because you always hear those stories of guys go to goalie because they're not a good skater, and then they're in for a rude awakening because like it all goaltending relies on like your edge work and like skating and all that, and like if you want to be successful, like you got to master those skills.
yeah, 100%. I mean, the game is so fast now. So you got to stay one step ahead of the play at all times, and you got to get to your spots before the puck gets there. And yeah, skating is and mobility is absolutely key.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, what has hockey been like for you growing up? I know, I know from like youth hockey, like you like at first, like you're just there just to play, and like the main thing's having fun, even now. But like you just learn the ropes from there. It's like, what was youth hockey like for you growing up?
Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I grew up in a really small town, Three Hills, Alberta, 3,500 people, one rink in the town, but we happened to have an outdoor rink. So a ton of my time was spent on the outdoor rink, and I would go there every night as a kid. I didn't need a parent to go with me. It's such a small, safe town, and I would just spend hours upon hours out there playing on the outdoor rink. So that's one of my fondest memories, I think, is that. And then yeah, just as a kid, I couldn't get enough, so I loved it. And it got to a point where I had to travel a little bit to play at a higher level because we only played so high with the small town
Yeah.
there. So I was fortunate that I was able to do that, and I had a mom that was willing to kind of drive me around, and allow me to just grow and chase that dream.
Yeah, and like that's what it comes down to, is chasing that dream, because all kids have those dreams of playing like in the NHL, playing pro hockey, whatever it is. And like you just want to be on the ice as much as you can. And a lot of time of youth hockey or your youth days are spent on the ice trying to just get better and have fun.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's like you nailed it on the head there. It's all about having a good time. So I was extremely fortunate to have a mom that never put any kind of pressure on me. I never got yelled at after a game. I was just able to kind of do my thing and play, and I didn't really know any better. So for me, that I think that's probably why I wanted to keep playing and why I enjoyed the game so much, because I just didn't have that pressure as a youngster, and really took in all the fun, and was able to enjoy the game.
Yeah, so then you go up through the ranks of youth hockey, minor hockey, and you end up in playing juniors in the AJHL to start off. So like, what was it like finding a team in the AJHL and then working your way up to the dub?
Yeah, it's crazy. The AHL, there we had a Zamboni driver in Three Hills whose son coached the AJ team that I tried out for. And he told this kid, hey, this kid's pretty good, maybe you should get him a look. And I went the first year when I was 16 and got cut, didn't make it. So I was down a little bit, and ended up going back as a 17-year-old after playing midget at home, just high school hockey, and made it that year, and played, and still probably wasn't even ready. I just kind of got lucky with who I knew and how I got there. And they'd made a promise to my parents that if I made it, I'd stay there all year, because they were concerned about my schooling and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So I just got really fortunate for that opportunity. And then the next summer, I'm working a dishwashing job, and my former midget coach comes in, my high school coach, and he's there with a scout with the Regina Pats, and he asked for me to come out from the kitchen, and I say hi, and he introduces me, and I was like, hey, do you happen to have any tryout spots open? And he's like, I'm not sure if we do, but let me call around. So he ended up calling Lethbridge or knew someone in Lethbridge, and they said they could take a kid on, and they had no clue who I was. And so essentially went to tryouts there and walked on and made the team, and got lucky there as well. I ended up playing really well, and they're kind of like, wow, we just traded for this 20-year-old kid from Portland. And then we have this 16-year-old kid that we really like. And they had no idea who I was. And they're like, I don't know why this kid's playing well. He might just be on a heater, but we kind of have these spots taken. And then the 16-year-old kid got homesick and he went home. So then I got an opportunity to stick around, and was able to spend, another 3 years kind of doing it in the Western League.
Yeah, sometimes it's all about that opportunity. Like, doesn't matter like how it's gonna come. Like, you just get that shot. You have to, even if like you're not ready, like you for that opportunity. Like, there might only be one opportunity. Like, you got to be ready for that and just make the most out of it, which is obvious that you did. But like, what was like that first year of junior hockey like, and just trying to adapt to the junior hockey lifestyle, because it's a bit different than going to school.
Yeah, it was big time different. So it was difficult, you're 17 years old, you move away from home for the first time, and living with a billet family for the first time, and not even understanding the different things that go on in junior hockey and the different kind of team rules. And I remember being late for our first bus trip, and just stupid stuff like that. I didn't understand what my job was as a rookie. And I remember our first road trip, first road trip for an exhibition game, I show up and I sit right in the back of the bus, with all my stuff, and I keep getting kicked up one seat at a time, and kind of getting angry in my head, wondering like, what's going on here? These guys are really mean, So it was definitely an adjustment period for me, trying to just navigate and learn what's going on here. What are all the different rules? How do things work? Along with being away from home and going to a new high school.
Yeah, you just gotta adapt, do anything you can to adapt and learn from those like mistakes or like different experiences that you just like the rules like you didn't know before, and like you just gotta like learn from those experiences and then just work your way up. And then like as you get older, like you start to realize like those rules, and then you could like help the younger guys, help the rookies like with those rules, and make sure that they don't do the same things you did as a rookie.
Yeah, for sure. It's about keeping your eyes and ears open all the time, right? And then not taking things personally sometimes. And so if you have a veteran guy that'll help you along and teach you the ropes, that I think that's huge. And then realizing when you're that guy, like, hey, help a kid out, give them the heads up, let them know what's going on here, and just try to lead that way. And, I was fortunate. I had some pretty cool veteran guys along the way, growing up and going through the junior ranks like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you finish out that first year in the AJ, and then you get your shot in the WHL with the Lethbridge Hurricanes, making it out of tryout camp. So like, what was your experience developing and gaining that confidence in your second year of juniors, and especially since you're playing at one of the highest levels of juniors?
Yeah, it was kind of like a whirlwind, because I didn't have a good season in the AJHL there as a rookie. And I don't even remember what my summer was like after that. I know I was washing dishes at Jimmy's restaurant there, for sure. But I remember my sister lived in Lethbridge, and I remember staying at her place during the tryouts, but she wasn't there yet. She was, going to university there, so she wasn't in town yet while we were in tryouts. And I remember walking to the rink, and it was far. Like, it wasn't a close walk. It's like 7 miles or something.
Are you carrying your bag on your shoulders and all that?
No, I got my bag to the rink already when I got dropped off, but from my mom when I got to town. But I'm walking to the rink, and then I'm at the rink trying to call a cab home. And I remember being on the payphone and see one of the assistant coaches there. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm calling a cab for a ride." He's like, "Stop." He's like, "Come here." And he grabs a kid in the room, and he's like, "Hey, you're driving this kid every day to and from the rink, So he took care of me that way. But it was like a whirlwind. I end up, like I said, like not really expecting to make that team. And end up going there and playing really well and getting some exhibition games. They're like, wow, let's see what this kid could do in exhibition and then play well. And then the 16-year-old left. And then I just started taking over from the older kid, the 20-year-old that they had, and started playing a ton of games and winning games. And got to the point actually where that kid ended up quitting and went back home. So yeah, it was a crazy whirlwind from the AJ and not playing a lot and not playing well to, you know, being like number 11 on central scouting for the draft coming up, you know, and I didn't really know where it came from. So it was kind of a wild year for sure.
Yeah, that's a wild time and just like a crazy year to look back at, like looking back from now and like where like what would have happened if you didn't get that opportunity and like what would your career look like after that?
Yeah, I'd probably still be washing dishes, you know, if that didn't happen. But and I don't know, maybe I would have ended up in the AJ again, and then maybe I would have tried the scholarship route, which is a great route for kids, you know. I think getting your education is huge and a great opportunity. And you know, I think it gives kids a little longer to develop as well. You know, you
Yeah.
could play junior till you're 20, and then you could go to college for 4 years and still be a prospect, where you could play major junior and finish your 20-year-old year. And if you haven't really done anything, then you're kind of washed up. So, you know, I really encourage kids, if they can go to college, I think it's a great avenue for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So like throughout like your first few years in juniors, like what are some of the big like lessons that you learned that if you're going to be successful and keep going up the ranks and eventually go to the pro ranks, like that you need to master before you get to that level?
Yeah, I think that's probably the first time I started learning how important off ice training was, you know, and I mean, I still had a long way to go and a lot to learn about it, you know, but that was the initial thing that I kind of opened my eyes there. So trying to take that to the next level in the summers. And yeah, like I said, I still wasn't even close to knowing what I needed to do, but it was a step in the right direction, right? And
Yeah.
a step to becoming a pro. But yeah, I think that'd be the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's a great lesson to learn, especially right away, because off season training is huge, especially like now, like since the game's getting faster and everything. Like you need to do whatever you can to get that edge in the game and like make yourself a good candidate to get a job over someone else.
Right. I think getting that edge is key. I think that having the endurance to make it through an entire season is key. And injury prevention too is
Yeah.
another absolute key with all that training. So, you know, I think learning that was huge, and I think it's something that really helped me and propelled me along in my career for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So then the next year, you go from Lethbridge to TriCity Americans, where you play in 37 games. It's like, what was it like going to Tri-City from Lethbridge and getting like a new opportunity?
Yeah, it was great. They had a younger stud goaltender, Tyler Wyman, there at the time, and I think he played a couple National Hockey League games and had a really good career. So he was 17 at the time, and they wanted an older guy to kind of help out a little bit and take some of the load off. So, you know, I think it was another good opportunity for me, and then it was another opportunity for me to learn from a kid who's younger than me, that I'm kind of there to help take the load off of. But I was able to learn a ton from him, and super competitive guy, and a great teammate, and a really good goaltender. So that was a really good experience, and learning meeting a bunch of new different teammates, and new billet families as well. Some great memories there from my billet family and another billet family that kind of took on the whole team, and Deb Scherer there. So yeah, good memories from Tri.
Yeah, and I feel like you could learn a lot from any goaltender, like your partners. Like doesn't matter if they're older or younger, like you could always like look at your goalie partners and just learn from how they approach the game, how professional they are, like when they get to the game, like during pregame warm-ups and like just like anything like that. And just like it just really helps you like grow and develop your game as well.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when it's somebody that does it well. Like I said, keeping your eyes and ears open, and then maybe trying something out, right? And don't always take everything that somebody's doing, but beg, borrow, and steal, and take what works for you, and then what doesn't work, just take that and toss it out, and then move on. So, yeah, goalie partners are a great way to learn for sure.
Absolutely. So then the following year, you move around a bit again. You go from Vancouver with the Giants, playing 26 games, to going to Calgary and playing 16 games, where you got in 3 playoff games. Like, what was it like going from Vancouver to Calgary and then experiencing Calgary Hitmen hockey?
Yeah, at the time that's one of those devastating times in Vancouver when I got cut as a 20-year-old and didn't know what I was going to do. Ended up going to the West Coast Hockey League there in between, and playing a game or two there, and then got the call from Calgary. And going to Calgary was like a dream come true for me. It ended up being like an hour from where I grew up, and my sister, I think both my sisters lived there. One for sure at the time. Had a ton of friends there that went and moved and went to college there. And so, yeah, just being close to home and my family being able to come to so many games was awesome. And then being able to play in the Saddle Dome and have that whole experience, it was awesome. It was a dream come true to be a part of the Hitman organization.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, you played for Bakersfield Condors in the West Coast Hockey League throughout, or like in the middle of that time. So like, what was that experience of getting like the professional, like getting those pro games in and just being able to boost your confidence a little, especially like going into WHL Calgary after that?
Yeah, I think that's one thing, being able to play at the pro level and play well there, and realize, hey, I can do this. And so that was big. And then again, part of it was like going back to being a rookie and junior again. Now you're with even older guys and there's no billet family. You're living on your own in an apartment. You do your own grocery shopping, your own cooking, your own laundry. So again, just another step of things that you have to learn being a pro and being a man. Again, a big learning curve there, and a great opportunity and great experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And to close off like junior hockey a little bit here, like what are like the main or like what was junior hockey like back when you played, compared to like what you hear and see about in guys that come up from juniors now?
Well, I think it was maybe a little bit of a tougher game, a little bit more fighting.
Yeah.
Back then, right before I got into junior, they just like put warm-ups back together because they had to do separate warm-ups for a little bit, because it was so crazy. So I think that the toughness part of the game there probably was the biggest difference from when I was playing to now.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you go into your first year of professional hockey after that, playing with the Odessa Jackalopes in the Central Hockey League and the Columbus Cottonmouths that first year in the East Coast Hockey Leagues. Like, what was your what was the process like to get to Odessa in the Central Hockey League and just get games under your belt?
Yeah, so I ended up going to Edmonton Oilers training camp that year. I just met a goalie coach, John Stevenson, the year prior. I think I was still in TriCity when he watched me play, and then he's like, "Hey, you should come up to Edmonton and train with me." And he was a scout for the Oilers. He got me into training camp and ended up signing a two-way American League deal at that point. So um, I went to training camp, got sent to Toronto. They had the Roadrunners in Toronto at that point, and signed a two-way contract. And we had like 6 goalies. So they didn't have anywhere to put me. So they ended up, I was waiting for like 2 weeks. They're like, we're going to send you somewhere. We just don't know where. And then it ended up being Odessa. So their ECHL team was Columbus, but they split that team with Montreal at the time. So because of their depth, there was no room there. So I ended up in Odessa there that first year. Yeah, that's how I ended up there.
Yeah, but that must have been a cool experience to go to Edmonton Oilers training camp and just experience that from there, and just meeting their scout there like that must have been a cool way to get yourself introduced to that. So like, what did you learn throughout like training camps, especially like you're at a training camp for an NHL team?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was an unbelievable experience to be on the same ice as those guys. It's really my first opportunity, and to be able to play well. I think again, you go back to some of the confidence factor
Yeah.
and confidence you can gain from an experience like that. So that might be the biggest thing, being able to get into their rookie game that they play against the University of Alberta. They're playing half the game of that and playing well, and going down and playing my first American Hockey League preseason game, and seeing how guys at that level do it, was a great experience for me.
Yeah, for sure. And you learn so much, especially at playing at that level and just being with the guys that play in the NHL and AHL. Like you could just learn from those guys and just try to do whatever you can to get back up to that level in the next few years.
Yeah. I mean, Steve Valcat was the goaltender for them at that point in Toronto with the Roadrunners, and watching what he does, and Mike Morrison, who played some NHL games, was there. And it's just these true professional athletes that are doing it for a living and being like, oh my gosh, yeah, these guys, these are pros. Like, I don't even have a clue, right? So trying to take in everything you can, learning the different practice habits, and how they prepare and take care of themselves, is all good information to take in.
Yeah, absolutely. So like what was like getting like you play in Odessa, you play in Columbus, like what was it like getting that first professional win?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool, for sure. I mean, like, it's just an opportunity that it's kind of like going back to your first junior win, like, at the time when I went to play junior hockey, I didn't know that was really even going to be an option for me. And then I got to play junior hockey, and I didn't know professional hockey would be a thing for me. So, just a lot of pride, and extremely excited.
Yeah, for sure. So like throughout that first year of professional hockey, like did you have like a moment where you're like, or a story like where you're like, this is pro hockey?
Well, I think it was like, this is pro hockey when we played one night in Memphis, and I ended up playing that game. We had three goalies on our team at the time, and can't remember what happened in the game. I think we lost in overtime, or it was a tight game. And we had to bus all the way to Indianapolis to play in Indy the next day, which was all through the night. And we pulled in at like 8 in the morning or 9 in the morning or something. And then our coach said, we're going to pregame skate, and everyone has to go on. Players, you can wear your tracksuits, goalies full gear. And I'm the only guy with wet gear on the entire team. And I'm dressed out there for practice. And, we didn't do anything like that in junior hockey. So I was like, oh, this is pro hockey. Let's go.
Yeah, and you gotta love putting on that sweaty wet gear after playing the night before, and like sweating buckets in there.
Yeah. Especially when you have three goalies and you're like, maybe I could just get this day off. But being a rookie, you don't get a lot of days off and a lot of optional practices. So you just got to roll with the punches, and do what you're told.
Yeah, absolutely. You just gotta do whatever you can to impress the coaches and stay where you are and just like work your way up the rankings.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's just it, right? That's like, keep your mouth shut, and when they say jump, you say how high, and just put in the work, right? And don't complain, and try to be a good human being and a good teammate.
Yeah, absolutely. And those are some of the most important things, being a good teammate and being a good human, because that can get you a long way, especially when you have a reputation that you're a good guy.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I feel like that's why I've been in Kalamazoo so long. 9 years as a player, and now the three, minus COVID year, 4 years of coaching. I think if you handle your business the right way, and you can be a good teammate and a good person away from the rink, then you can get a lot of good opportunity from that. And I've been able to start a life and a family here in Kalamazoo, and it's home now. And I think I owe a lot of that to, how I handled my business, as a teammate and off the ice.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, like Kalamazoo shares a special place in your heart, and like, so like what makes Kalamazoo so special, especially since you've been with Kalamazoo since they're in the United Hockey League to the International Hockey League and to the East Coast Hockey League. Now you're coach, and like what has made Kalamazoo such a special place for you throughout your career?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. I think I need to start with, I met my wife here. So right away,
That's a
that
big
makes
one.
it, yeah, that's super important. So that's number one, right? And she happens to be a Michigan girl, and went to university here, and grew up a couple hours across the state. So that's number one. So that makes it special. You know, we won a championship here my second year in the United Hockey League. So that made it, you know, extremely special team that year. And then my oldest son was born on the east side of the state, but in August. So hockey season, we were here at the end of September. So he was here at 2 months old, and then my youngest kid was born here in Kalamazoo. So I think all of that, and the way the organization has treated me and my family throughout the years, and the community, everything put together. I think this is the best organization in the ECHL, and there's nowhere that I'd rather be. So we love the organization and love the city, and a lot of great memories here.
Yeah, for sure. And like that's all that matters, just how like special it makes you feel, and like you've created a family there, and you're just you love Kalamazoo and everything like that. That's a great place to play, and like now a great place to coach.
Yeah, for sure it is. I mean, I feel extremely fortunate that it was able to work out, that I could transition from playing to coaching in the same city. You know, that doesn't happen a lot of times, and I was lucky that the position happened to be open, and then I was fortunate to get the job, and to be in the same city, in a place that we love and want to be, makes it that much more special.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, like your second year, you won a championship with the Wings. So like, what was that whole year like, and just going through the ups and downs of creating like a strong team and then finally winning the championship in the UHL?
Yeah, I think that one for us kind of started the year before too. You know, I was still considered a rookie at that point, and you know, we had a really good team that year and won like 50 games or something, and lost in the first round of the playoffs, and so that was really tough on everybody. And we came back the next year with a heightened focus, and they revamped the team, and we felt like we were even stronger, and ended up having a great start to the year, and kind of carried on for most of the year. Hit a little lull at one point, I think in January there, and I think upper management was, you know, threatening a little bit to make some changes if we didn't turn things around, and fortunately we did. And then they made a couple moves that, you know, weren't out of frustration, but they thought that could make us better, and it did make us better. And yeah, it was the funnest year of hockey I've ever had, you know. So our captain at the time was Nick Bootland, who then was my coach for 7 years and is now the head coach that I work with. So we go back a long time.
Yeah, and like you win a championship, you make all these memories. Like it turns out to be a great year, especially like of how good of a team you had, and like you're here having fun out there. Like there's nothing better than having fun and also coming away with a championship.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason we play, right? I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like, yeah, we all have, you know, desire and ambition to move on or move up, but I think being present, you know, is super important. Like, be where you are, and win where you are, and that will help you as well. So yeah, that's what it's all about. That's why we play, that's why we coach. You know, we want to help players, but we also want to win, and our goal is to win a championship every year. So that year was a special one for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And throughout like that entire year, like you also earned your first AHL call up to the Cleveland Barons. At that time you played in one game. Like what was that experience like going to Cleveland and playing in that first game in the American League?
Yeah, that was wild. You know, I remember we played on the road in Winnipeg, in the Jets arena, and there was another eye opener for me getting in that game. And You know, I was having a great year here, and I was like, man, I'm ready for this. And first period, we're down 3-rip, you know, and I'm like, oh, wow, this game is a lot different. It's fast, it's way more traffic, and ended up getting out of the game at 4-1 with a 4-1 loss, you know, so was able to kind of turn it around over the next 2 periods, which was huge.
Yeah.
For sure, but still disappointing to come out on a losing end, but a learning experience, which is a win in itself for sure. And just seeing what that league was kind of all about, and how good it is.
Yeah, and only giving up one goal over the course of the next 2 periods is a lot better than going down 3-rip in the first period.
Yeah, I kind of took that as a small win, right? When things don't go well, like not everything's going to be negative, so you got to find a couple of things that are positives, and for sure that was one of them. Being able to stay in the game and get the whole 60 minutes worth of experience too, and then realizing like, okay, I could do this, you know, and where if you know let in a couple more and get yanked there, then maybe you're not so sure, especially in the first opportunity ever.
Yeah, absolutely. So then you learn from that experience, and then over the next few years, you move around in the American League, in the Coast, playing trending for the Titans, Norfolk Admirals, Syracuse Crunch, Elmira Jackals, and getting more call-ups to the AHL as well. So, like, what were those years like for you, and just grinding through all the movement?
Yeah, I mean, I was living the dream at that point, you know. I love the game for sure. So I had no problem, you know, moving around. And I see guys all the time now that are chasing it the same way, and sometimes different e-bugs that are chasing it and going from team to team. And yeah, I love the game, and I loved every second of it. And every opportunity I thought was great. And every organization I played for was great. So it was a whirlwind of years for sure, you know, but met a lot of great people along the way, and had a lot of super cool experiences, and yeah, wouldn't change it.
Yeah, and you're chasing the dream, like you said, and like you're just grinding away. Like sometimes, like just grinding is like so is a lot of fun, especially when you're just chasing after that dream and just trying to move up the professional ranks and get to the next level wherever you are.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much fun, you know, like it doesn't get any better when you're in that, you know, 26, 27, 28-year-old kind of thing. And you know, you don't have any strings tying you down, and you could do that stuff, you know. You eventually get to an age where you're married, and then you have kids, and you can't chase it that way. So yeah, I had a lot of fun and loved every second of that, and would do it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, absolutely. So then in 2010, 2011, you played 18 games for the Bridgeport Sound Tigers, where you went 2-12-2. So like, what was your mindset throughout that time? Like, what did you have to learn from a time where things weren't going right for you or the team?
Yeah, it was a tough time for our team, where between us and the Islanders, we were super banged up. I think we had like 10 or 11 guys living in the hotel that were all on call-ups, which is not a good thing, you know, when
Yeah.
you're in the American Hockey League. So yeah, it was a struggle, but great learning experience to be able to be at that level for an extended period of time. And you know, I wish that season would have gone better for myself. It might have opened up some more opportunity for sure, but still gained a lot of cool experience, was able to back up those couple of games in the National Hockey League because of that experience. And so it was a special year too, even though on paper it wasn't pretty.
Yeah, and I feel like when you hit those like low points, those downs that you face in a season, like those like help you carry like throughout the next couple years, and just help you develop and like help you learn from those experiences to like do whatever you can to get out of that slump or whatever, and just be able to just move on and like clear that mindset a little bit, and just like face some of that adversity and jump over those obstacles.
Yeah, I think it's motivating, right? For some people, and for myself, it's motivating to want
Yeah.
to do better, because you know you feel like you have better. And then you know, when you have that never quit mindset too, like a lot of our game is, and or our position and making it certain places is like a little bit of luck and timing, right? So
Yeah.
if you quit, then you're not going to get that luck or that timing. So if you stick with it, eventually you're going to find the right spot and the right fit, and things can work out for you if you don't give up.
Yeah, and throughout like the time like that, like things may not be going well, but you earned yourself an NHL call up to the Islanders. So, like you backed up a few games up there. So, like, what was that experience like backing up the Islanders and just learning from the other goalies up there?
Yeah, that was wild. They were, goalies were getting banged up like crazy up there. And I remember Garth Snow calling me at one point. He's like, "Hey, we're gonna sign you to a contract if you want that. It's not really negotiable. What are your thoughts?" I'm like, "Tell me where to sign, Garth." Like, let's go. So did that so I could be a guy that they could use in an emergency, right? So then the one day I'm sitting in the hotel with my buddy playing Call of Duty, and we're about to order some dinner, and get a phone call, and I ignored it, and they call back, and then I got a message, and they're like, "Hey, they need you in Long Island right now." And I was like, "Oh man." So I call him back. It was our trainer, and he's like, "I got your gear packed. There's a limo going to be at the hotel right now, and pack a bag. Let's go." He said, "Kevin Poulin got hurt in warmups, so you're going right to the Islanders game right now." I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's crazy." So I went to my room and threw a bunch of stuff in a bag, and limo took me to the rink to get my gear, and we raced to New York, and made it in the second intermission and got dressed and went out for the third period there. And that was against the Leafs. And just a surreal moment there, skating out on the Nassau Coliseum and looking around. And the next day we flew to Montreal and had a practice, and played against the Canadiens that night, and I was able to back up that entire game. And just what a crazy experience, and another whirlwind, and just seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah, and like what's like just being on the bench and just like hearing like the guy like the speed of the game, like the guys like talking on the ice, chirps getting thrown, like just like when you guys score, like the energy on the bench, like all of that, like what was that like?
Well, in Montreal, you sit across the ice from the bench. So I missed a lot of
Wow.
that during that game. I was on the bench in New York, but we were getting beat by the Maple Leafs like 5-2 or something. So that wasn't great. But just seeing like guys that, you watch and look up to, play on the other side is just, it's crazy, Johnny Tavares was on that team, and Carey Price was on the Canadiens, and Caberlet and Phaneuf with the Leafs. And yeah, it was nuts. Reimer, I think, was playing. Like, it's crazy to see guys that you watch on TV and look up to, and in live game action, and you're right there, and you're the next man up too. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. So then the following year, you go on to a new journey in pro hockey where you went over to Denmark for a season for the Herlev Eagles. So like what was the culture shock like from playing in North America to Denmark and just experiencing Denmark?
Yeah, it was crazy. Unbelievable experience. Unbelievable people in Denmark. They speak a lot of English. A lot of the younger people, almost all the young people, speak English, which was huge for going to a new country, having that. But definitely a bit of a culture shock, and a lot of the food, and the different language when it comes to reading signs and things like that. It was crazy. Different style of hockey, different size rink. Fans are a lot louder and do a lot more chanting and cheering than they do over here. Super cool experience. Loved every second of that.
Yeah, and like the soccer style fans, like you said, like they chant a lot more, and like it's a whole like soccer style. So like, what was it like just experiencing that and like just like the whole like atmosphere that you don't experience in North America?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, when you win a game at home and the fans just keep sitting out there singing and cheering for your whole team to come back out, and you all go back out on the ice, and you do a special thing with the fans there. You salute the fans, and it was awesome. I mean, I wish hockey was like that all over the world, So to be able to experience that for a year was pretty special for sure.
Yeah, so you experienced something different going over to Denmark, and then you come back over here for over the course of the next 6 years to end your professional hockey career. You went back to Kalamazoo and the coast, where you picked up a ton of games every single season with playing anywhere between like 41 to 69 games, including playoffs. Like, what was the weight load that came on with playing like 69 games in one season, trying to do everything you can to recover your body?
Yeah, it was tough, but now I was at a point in my career now where I was 29, going and played till I was 35. So now I'd gained a ton of experience, and I felt like I'd kind of dialed in a lot of the off ice training and what I needed to do in season to recover and prepare for another game, and know when I needed to take a bit more of a break and lay off, and when I could push it a little more. And the workload would dictate a lot of that. And then, also the coach too was really good with, hey, I don't want you going on the ice today. Like, you the one time played 39 games in a row, and so he'd try to keep me off the ice as much as possible. And I remember sometimes he'd even try and start the other kid. We had a lot of call ups that one year. So we had like someone who hadn't really played in the league before, and he's like, I think I'm going to give him a start. And I was like, okay, that's fine, but if you need me, I'm ready. But if you think he's a better option, go with him. And then
Yeah.
he's like, man, all right, you're gone. So, but I think just the experience of all the years of junior now and pro that I kind of added up, and understanding what I needed to be able to do that, because I don't think I could have done it at a younger age.
Yeah, and it's probably easier on the mindset too when your coach like knows what you're going through and like gives you an off day here and there, especially like in practice and all that. And like you don't have to like just like constantly be on the ice like every single practice, and like you get those occasional off days.
Yeah, that's big, from a mental side. I think journaling was another big thing that I found that helped me on the mental side that I didn't pick up till then. And that helped immensely, just kind of relieve stress on my mind, and then also put in, the positive things that I wanted going through my head. Once I got everything out there, then I was able to kind of learn to program my mind what I wanted to think and what I wanted to be thinking about.
Yeah, and that's a good like technique to use is journaling, because like you just journal about like whatever like how you felt during the game, like your biggest like a big save, like things you learned, like you could just write anything you want in your journal, and like you could learn from those experiences and just like look back on it and be like, oh, I did this when I was feeling this way, and then just have that like little shift in the mindset.
Yeah, and it just helps you reflect. It's so hard sometimes to reflect, and you have all these thoughts. And sometimes, if I say I played a bad game and then I started journaling, and then I'd be like, well, what was going on pregame? My mind seemed like a little more concerned with, maybe who we're playing, or I didn't feel good, and I'm like, oh, that might, I wasn't really focused on me at that point. And it just kind of helps you center in on maybe what was going on that night. And then I could say, okay, it wasn't a great game. I felt like pregame I was a little bit distracted, thinking about things I shouldn't have. I was a little wound up, and then saying, but I did this and this well tonight, and
Yeah.
then, all right, next game, I'm going to focus on myself. I'm going to focus on my breathing before the game. I'm not going to let this bother me or distract me, and then just really help me reflect in a way that I hadn't done as a younger kid. As a younger kid, if you played a bad game, all you could think about was being mad and like I didn't play good and being
Yeah.
frustrated, so just kind of being able to sort my feelings out and then get them out there and reflect on them and then just move on, I think, from it. That's one of the things that helped me the most, I think.
Yeah, and like throughout like all this time that you're doing this, like you reach a ton of milestones throughout your career, especially those last 5 to 6 years. So like what was the secret to was that like your secret to success and being able to hold a lot of the Wings records and find success along the way is like finding that like technique to journal and just like having that good mindset and just stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all that stuff put together, like how to train in the off season, how to train in season and recover, how, reading books on the mental side of the game, learning how to journal, which I think I picked up from a mental book. Just being able to kind of stay that even keel and not get too high or too low, because it is a roller coaster ride, and kind of get into a place where, winning's the only thing that matters, and understanding that you can do that by winning 7-6 or 1-0. It doesn't always have to be pretty. It was just the result. And then, the teammates too, like that's a combination of playing on some really good teams, I think too. Show me a good goalie, and a lot of times I'll show you a good team. So I think I was fortunate that way, that our head coach was able to put a good team in front of me and a good game plan and strategy, and that helped me out a ton as well.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And like over the course of those last 5 years, like we've been talking about, you were also loaned up and down in the American League to Milwaukee, Iowa, Chicago, Cleveland. So like what were those experiences with those teams like, and just learning the AHL game again and just improving your game overall?
Yeah, I mean, it's at that point, it's just opportunity, right? You never know what can come of it. You take some of those call ups, and I don't see the ice, and take some of them and I get to play 2 games and play well. And so for me, it was about chasing opportunity and being able to get in a couple more games at that level, which was special for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And like throughout your storybook career, I'm sure you have a few great stories, like the time you got into with an ice crew member in a game, or the multiple goalie fights you were involved in. So like what were some of those stories like?
Yeah, I'll tell you about the shovel boy incident. So we were playing in Cincinnati, and generally during media timeouts, I'd go to the bench, get a towel, maybe some Gato, and we were getting pounded 7-1. And
Wow.
and we had an e-bug on the bench, so I couldn't get pulled unless I was hurt, and I wasn't one to fake an injury, so I was just in there taking my beating. And first media timeout comes out in the 3rd period, and it's 7-1, and this shovel boy says, "You got to move," and I just stretch in my crease, and I'm just looking straight forward, and I'm stretching, and I'm fuming mad, and he eventually goes around me, finishes his job. And I'm like, good, he understands. Just leave me alone, go around me. Nobody cares if the crease is shoveled at this point in the game.
It's 7-1. Who cares?
7-1 at this point. Let's just speed it up. We shouldn't even have a timeout, right? So then the next media timeout comes, and I start stretching again, and I'm looking straight forward. And here comes the shovel boy, and he says, "It doesn't matter. You gave up 7 goals anyway." And that's where I stand up and work my way over to him, and had a couple of choice words and slashed the shovel out of his hand, and we went to pick it up, hit it away again. And yeah, that's what happened there. I'm just happy that I stopped at that and didn't continue to whack the shovel or do anything else too stupid.
Yeah, that's a funny story. When I saw that video on your Instagram, I was like, when I get Joel on, like I have to ask him about that, because that's a 10 out of 10. That's a great video.
And I sat on that video for like, it's probably been somewhere between 6 and 8 years. I can't remember exactly which season that was, but it's been like close to 7, maybe 8 years, and I was kind of scared for a little bit about letting it out, that I get just ripped to shreds. And now I'm at a point where I'm like, I don't care. And most people, well, pretty much everyone I've talked to thinks it's funny. So I just let it out.
Yeah, it's a funny video, especially like why do you have to shovel the crease when it's 7-1? Like even have a timeout. Like you just finish the game at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was a learning experience for myself and that young shovel boy to maybe keep your mouth shut and not talk to the opposing team during games. I picked up a 1-game suspension for the incident, so not too bad, but still stupid, for sure, letting something like that get to me. But stuff happens.
Yeah, exactly. And like that, at least you only got one game saucy compared to like a 3 to 5 game saucy for that. Like you'll take the 1 game.
Yeah, for sure. It was well worth it, right? Now, had I done, had I tried to slash the shovel and I hit his hand or something, then I'm looking at, who knows, 20 games or whatever, something stupid. So, just another moment where handling your emotions and being mentally tough and controlling things you could control, because although nothing did come of that, what if it did? Because I accidentally hit the kid's hand, even though I didn't mean to, and now I hurt my team because I'm out for 20 games or the season or something. So it was a learning lesson for me actually at that point, because I know I still played for a few years after that, and I really focused on not letting people or things get to me after that. Just realizing what could happen, and just knowing that it's not worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like throughout like your career, you got into a couple goalie fights, one against Cedric Desjardins, and then the like famous Kalamazoo and Kansas City brawl. Like what was like the Kalamazoo and Kansas City brawl like, and just ending up having to fight McDonald, I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd rather fight Cedric Desjardins, that's for sure. That one went better. It was a little smaller. But yeah, that all happened because one of our teammates had done the moonwalk the game before after he scored, and they weren't too happy. And he's one of our better players, and so they wanted to fight with him. And I remember them sending one of their big guys out, and he grabbed him. And I just went and bear hugged the guy because I knew he shouldn't have to fight that player.
Yeah.
And
Out of the weight class.
yeah, so, and I didn't think anything would come of it, but McDonald at that point said, we're going pretty much. So he's flying down the ice at full speed. I remember my buddy I was trying to help protect there. He's like, Mart, he's coming. I'm like, I see him. And we had an e-bug on the bench again in that situation. So I was like, I'm not fighting. And he just hops into the pile, sheds his mitts, and starts going. And I remember in that fight, I couldn't get my glove off. So I was trying to like get my glove on the shoulder and try to get it off like the entire time while I'm trying to dodge all these punches, And then finally I got it off, and I remember stepping on a stick and falling down. And then I finally get my glove off. And I was like, yes, it's my turn. And he just ducks down, and his jersey comes off. And I'm like, oh, no, it's not my turn. Hold on. So then I just tried to hold on again. And I had just had, I think that was my last season. So I'd had shoulder surgery on both shoulders at that point, the summer prior to that, and 2 summers prior. And he was a young, strong boy. And I remember just being like, oh, yep, I don't have the strength to hold on to this. So that one didn't go so well, that's for sure.
Yeah, that still makes for a funny story and a funny memory when you look back on it.
Yeah, for sure. I remember after the fight too, the guys on the bench were telling me the e-bug that we had at the time from Kansas City looked over at one of the guys and goes, I'm sorry for what's about to happen, because he thought he was going in the game. And they didn't end up kicking me out.
That game?
They didn't even eject me from the game. So then I had to finish after getting beat up, and then we lost. So it was a double whammy.
Cool. That's still funny, but that sucks that it happened like that and you guys lost. But
Yeah.
at least the e-bug didn't have to go in.
Yeah, exactly. Though, it would have been a good experience for him too, and a good story, I'm sure. So, but no, it was all good.
Yeah, absolutely. But Joel, I have a few more questions for you before we wrap things up here. So in 2021, 2022, so this year, you're named to the ECHL Hall of Fame. So like, what has it been like to hear your name, or what was it like to hear your name, to be called to get a bid in the ECHL Hall of Fame and then get inducted into it?
Yeah, extremely humbling for sure, to be named in the same, sentence as Nick Vitucci and Jason Saul and Daniel Berthume. I used to collect his hockey cards, for gosh sakes, So just to be recognized, by the league, the ECHL, for that great honor, just a humbling experience, and a great time to spend with my family. And really for me, that was the best part about it. Like my boys, when I quit playing, were 4-2, I believe, so now that they're 8-6, being able to share that experience with them was the best part of it, for sure, by far, for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And just congrats on being inducted into the ECHL Hall of Fame, and just everything, like your entire career is a storybook career. And it's just awesome to see that you ended up in the ECHL Hall of Fame.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And like I said, it's a journey that I wouldn't change for the world, and super humbling, and really happy to be a part of this league, and just seeing the growth of the league from when I was, 21 years old. It's amazing. It's come a long way. And I love that, they're not complacent and they keep trying to grow the league and the game here. And super excited for what's to come along the way for this league.
Yeah, absolutely. So like when looking back on your career, like what are some of the most important lessons you learned to help you stay in the game for so long and have so much success?
Well, I think treating people the right way is going to help you stick around, and being a good teammate. I think that's number one, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're not, people, no matter how good you are, people aren't going to deal with you, I think. So
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest lesson. I think hard work is another one, and having that no quit attitude and never giving up, because you never know when an opportunity is going to come your way. So always being ready for that and putting in the work is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an awesome thing you learned, and an awesome thing a lot of people could learn from your experience, and just like putting it into their game, and just being a good guy, being a good girl, like whatever it is, and just being able to just get a good reputation, just like help continue to grow the game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, try and help and grow the game, and try to help your teammates out, and try to be a leader, and you just lead in your own way too. Sometimes it's just by example. It doesn't always have to be vocal. And yeah, just try to do things the right way. And if you're not sure what that way is, then ask one of the leaders on your team, or ask your coach, and I'm sure they can help you out.
Yeah, I love that. And just like it's just it's awesome to see where everything how everyone grows and everything like that, and just to come how far they have come, and just see where people are at today.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Everything kind of comes, it's crazy when things kind of come full circle. And to start here is, I think I was 22 when I first came to Kalamazoo, and to even be on this coaching staff after playing for a guy like Mark Reeds, who's passed away now, and one of the best coaches I've ever had, and now to kind of be filling his shoes, so to speak, in a way, is crazy to me, and time just flies by. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have two more questions. So what's like your top three favorite barns you've played in throughout your pro career?
Ooh, Kalamazoo, for sure is number one. It's up there. Like, it's been around for 47 years. Obviously I have a little bit biased, but been around for 47 years. So I've always, a lot of history here, and I've just always loved playing in this rink. I think Fort Wayne is another one. I don't know what their history is. I think it might even be longer, but just another beautiful building that they've done a lot to, and still in great shape, and a big rivalry of ours, and they
Yeah.
generally have pretty good turnout. So that's always fun to play in there, and hostile environment. And probably the Saddle Dome. I mean, being a Flames fan, growing up, and still, and being able to spend half a season there at the Hitmen and playing the Saddle Dome, was just an unbelievable experience.
Yeah, those are some great barns to pick from. And then my final question, we got to come back full circle to what we were talking about earlier. So like what's been your favorite moment coaching so far?
Yeah, I think there's maybe, I guess, a couple. I think one is we've had a couple guys that have come to our team on tryouts, and they kind of always ask the question like, well, am I at a disadvantage of being at a tryout? And, we always say the same thing: if you deserve to be here, you'll be here. And seeing a couple of these guys make our teams on tryouts, I think has been something that's super rewarding, and seeing the excitement in them, you know, and their love for the game is something that is super cool as a coach to experience. And then also players that have been called up to the American Hockey League. Anytime you get a call guys into your office and you say, hey, you know, you're going up or whatever, then, and seeing their smile and how excited they are to get up and get their opportunity, you know, just like myself and our head coach when we were players, you know, looking for that opportunity and seeing guys with that same excitement and knowing that maybe you helped, you know, sometimes it comes down to injuries and sometimes it comes down to guys playing well and getting an opportunity. And if, you know, you had any hand in that at all, and, you know, they have to do the work, right? Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, you know, we can teach them, but they got to do the work. And so that's always super special and super rewarding as a coach.
Yeah, and it's all about making the most of that opportunity, because you might only get one, you might get two. Like, you got to make the most of every single opportunity you get.
Yeah, for sure. You got to be ready, right? And the biggest thing I think too, like some guys come to our, you know, from our level, they're playing 20 plus minutes a night and they get called up and now they're a third, fourth line playing 6 minutes. So what can you do in 6 minutes to make a difference, you know,
Yeah.
as a player? How can you force them to give you more ice time? You know, I think is the challenge that those guys have in that situation. And it's not an easy situation to be in, but that's what you got to do. You got to somehow create something out of that short period of time in that short little window.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about. But Joel, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time. I want to wish you the best of luck going forward with the rest of the Wings season coaching, and I look forward to following your coaching career the rest of the way.
Jack, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Great chatting with you. I'll do it anytime. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem. You will definitely be on here sometime again in the future.
Awesome. Appreciate that. You take care of yourself and thanks again for having me.
Yeah, you as well.